The Elsinore sat on the 58th floor of the city's most prestigious five-star hotel, a place the elite came not only to dine, but to flex power through criticism. Every crystal glass gleamed, every silver fork polished until it could reflect the finest lines on the face of the pickiest guest. Here, even whispers had to be careful. A single frown from a diner could cost the head chef his job. That golden gilded air shattered in an instant. "Who made this sauce?" The voice came from the far corner table, deep, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Vincent T. Harrow, white, hawk-nosed, eyes like cut glass. His bespoke suit sat on him like it had been sewn into his skin. One of the most powerful tycoons in the country, owner of a chain of luxury restaurants stretching from New York to Paris. Known for a palate impossible to please and a temper even harder. The room frozen. Jeffrey, the white-haired restaurant manager, broke into a sweat under his collar. He rushed forward, bowing in apology. "Mr. Harrow, is something wrong? If there's anything that doesn't meet your standards?" Vincent didn't answer. He dipped his fork into the glossy brown sauce, tasted it again, then set the fork down with a sharp clang. "Bring me the one who made this."
Wait a second. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us.
His voice was quiet, but cold as ice. In the kitchen, panic spread like fire. "That's not the sauce on the menu. Head chef's off tonight." "Who did this?" All eyes turned to a young black woman standing in the shadows, apron dusted in flour, fingers clenched tight around a ladle. Lydia Harris, 24, kitchen trainee. Usually called the black girl who washes green. A blonde chef pointed. "Her. She changed the sauce. She made it." Jeffrey stormed in. "You dare?" Lydia drew a slow breath and nodded. Her voice was soft but steady. "I'm sorry, sir. Yes, I changed it. If it needs adjusting, I'll make it again." Snickers and sneers rippled through the kitchen. "A trainee? Or a billionaire? She thinks she's special because she can stir a pot?" She ignored them. She stepped into the dining room, small in her dark uniform, flour still on her hands, sweat on her brow. Vincent's gaze swept over her, sharp as a blade, then stilled. He tasted the sauce once more. Silence, eyes closed for 2 seconds. When he opened them, his voice was low. "It's been a long time since I've tasted this." The air in the room shifted. "Where did you learn to cook?" "From my mother," Lydia said quietly. "She used to be a chef." Something flickered in Vincent's eyes. The taste, the face. It was pulling him back to a past he thought was gone. Lydia Harris was just a kitchen trainee, thin, quiet, and almost invisible in the gold-lit kitchen of the five-star Elsinore. She worked in the shadow of gleaming stainless steel tiers, where shouts of "Fire table 6, where's the sauce? Steak up yet?" rushed past her like wind without a name. To the others, Lydia was a tool, nothing more. No one called her by name. She was floor girl, coal skin, ash auntie. As if her skin alone barred her from ever holding a pan or seasoning a dish. "Hey Lydia, scrub those burnt pots. Move faster than yesterday. Why are you still here? Trash done yet? You smell that burnt sauce. Oh wait, must be your hair." She'd heard it all. Sometimes her lips trembled, but her eyes stayed down. Not because she wasn't angry, because her dream was bigger than her anger. She worked here for one reason, to support her mother, Eunice Harris, who had once done every job she could: nanny, cook, laundry, school kitchen helper. Now she lay bedridden from diabetes complications, her legs swollen, movement painful, eyesight fading. The day Lydia got the job, her mother had held her hand tight. "If you ever become a real chef, let me eat there, baby. Somewhere fancy, so I can see my old recipes shine under silver and candlelight." Lydia carried that dream every day, every night. No one trained her, no one cared to. She learned by watching, scribbling recipes on crumpled paper tucked into her apron. At night, in their dark little home, she practiced with tech ingredients: oil instead of butter, chuck instead of wagyu, just to understand how flavors worked. That night was different. Vincent Harrow, a billionaire infamous for the hardest palate in America, was dining upstairs. Rumor had it he'd fired 3 Michelin star chefs over watery sauce. He'd never praised a dish aloud. A compliment from him was a miracle. A frown from him could end a career. 6:45 p.m. The restaurant hummed like a wound-up clock. Everything was in place. Except one thing: the head chef was suddenly out, after a minor car accident. The most critical position was empty, but Vincent's meal could not be delayed. Lauren, a white sous chef with perfect blonde hair and a habit of sneering at Lydia, was put in charge. When prepping the signature brown sauce for Harrow's steak, Lauren accidentally tipped the main batch onto the tiled floor. "Oh," slipped right out of my hand, she gasped. But her eyes were sharp as a blade. The kitchen froze. No time to start over. No thawed ingredients for another batch. A male assistant hissed, "Lydia, make the sauce. Now." But no buts. If it's late, you answer Harrow. She knew. They were setting her up. But something inside her said, "Don't be afraid. Just do it." She nodded, hands shaking but decisive. She reached for ingredients. Not the restaurant's recipe. No one had ever given her that. She used her mother's. A ladle of bone stock simmered for 8 hours. A pinch of hand-crushed black pepper. A drop of beet juice blended with roasted shallots, her mother's secret to sweetness. A swirl of pure molasses instead of sugar. Measured by hand, judged by eye. Simmered by instinct. As if her mother were right behind her, silently nodding. She poured it over the seared steak. A minute later, the dish was sent out. Then it happened. Vincent Harrow slammed the table. The restaurant froze solid. All eyes turned to her. Accusations flew. She did it. She changed the sauce. Trying to show off? Who let her touch Harrow's plate? Lydia kept her head down. "I'm sorry, sir," she said softly. "Yes, I changed the sauce. If you're unhappy, I'll make it again right now." The air tightened. It felt like the moment before an execution. But Vincent didn't explode as they expected. He only asked a few questions, then looked at her for a long time, in that heavy silence. Not praise, not condemnation. Lydia braced herself for the blow. At least, she thought, she'd done one thing right tonight. She'd used her mother's recipe to save a dish, even if it cost her everything. Against the tight breaths and the poised expectation of an eruption, Vincent Harrow simply set down his knife and fork. He lifted his head. "The sauce is exquisite." His voice was low, as if drawn from the deep well of memory. "Thank you for giving me this taste." The room was empty. A waiter fumbled a glass, the shatter of water and crystal cutting through the silence. But no one turned. They froze. Then a murmur rippled. Then glances, skeptical, uncertain, as if the words couldn't possibly be what they thought they heard. Lydia barely dared breathe. One blink, then another. She waited for the but. The sting of rebuke that usually followed. It didn't come. No scolding for overstepping. No slap pop knowing her place. No sneer of stupid black girl. Only that calm voice. And eyes watching her with curiosity. "You learned this from your mother?" "She was a cook?" he asked. Her hands tightened. Her knees trembled. "She worked as a cook for families. And many other jobs. She taught me since I was a child." A pause fell heavy between them. Harrow didn't answer right away. His gaze narrowed, as though trying to see through the young black woman in front of him, into some far-off memory. Then he murmured, "I want to meet your mother." It startled her. "Sir? You mean now?" He only nodded. The restaurant held its breath, not because they understood, but because they didn't. Sudden, unusual. Each person spun their own version, some thinking she was about to be reprimanded in private, others that he suspected her of something, and a few simply struck by the sight of the unshakable Vincent Harrow breaking character. Lydia bowed slightly. "Yes, but my home is far, and my mother. She's very ill. I'm not sure she..." Just lead the way, Vincent said, already rising. 40 minutes later, a black limousine glided into the worn southern blocks of the city, where garbage trucks rattled past at midnight and children kicked cans instead of soccer balls. Buildings wore stains like load wounds, windows clouded with tired neon light. Lydia led him up to the third floor of a weathered apartment block, its concrete steps cold, littered with leaves, steeped in the smell of damp years. Door 37 creaked open. Inside, nothing remarkable except the small wooden bed and the woman lying on it. Eunice Harris, hair gray and untamed, cheeks sunken, skin cracked and dry. She turned her head at the sound of the door. Her eyes were dim. Lydia moved to her side, touched her hand gently. "Someone wants to see you." Vincent stepped in. His stride slowed as his gaze found her face. Then, like a cord pulled tight until it snapped, he dropped to his knees beside the bed. "Do you remember me?" The room went still. Eunice squinted, her breath trembling. Slowly, painfully slowly, her lips moved. "Vinny?" Vincent nodded, like a child hearing his name for the first time in years. "I thought you were. I searched for you, but no one ever told me. No one told me anything." His voice cracked. His head bowed to the bed's edge. The sobs came raw, unguarded from the richest man in the city, the one who had dismissed renowned chefs over a sauce that missed its mark. Lydia sat frozen. She didn't understand, not fully, but she knew things had shifted. Vincent stayed for a long time. Between Eunice's labored breaths and fragments of memory, they pieced together what had been buried. When Vincent was 6, his parents, consumed by business trips, villas and their social standing, hired a black woman to be his nanny and cook. Eunice had been his first home. She didn't just cook, she combed his hair, taught him to paint, held him through nightmares, and made him his favorite brown sauce beef, exactly the way Lydia had made it tonight. Until the day the diamond watch went missing, Agatha Winslow, the white-head housekeeper who controlled nearly everything in the household, accused Eunice. No proof, just prejudice and power. "Keep her kind around long enough, and this will happen," she'd said. Vincent never forgot it. When the boy asked, "Where's my nanny?" the adult said, "She left." He wasn't allowed to ask again. The matter was closed, like every truth the powerful don't want found. He grew up wealthy, untouchable, but the hollow left by that wordless goodbye burned like an ember. He'd tried to find her. No one spoke. Eventually he believed she'd really left him. Until tonight. One spoonful of sauce. One familiar face. A thread of instinct leading him back to a childhood he thought was lost. From the old, sagging couch, Lydia sat in a daze. Her frail mother whispered to the man she had once raised as her own. The man who had choked out her name like a prayer. And then he turned toward Lydia. His eyes were red, but lit with something new, something almost unguarded. Because the girl before him was the daughter of the woman who had once been his family. The girl before him was a piece of the past he'd lost, but never, ever forgotten. News of the reunion between billionaire Vincent Harrow and the black woman who had once been his nanny and private cook spread across every major outlet. Yet behind the headlines, Vincent carried a weight no camera could capture. 30 years of guilt that no joy could erase. An apology alone wouldn't do. "I can't let you live your whole life in hardship because of a lie," he told her. After that night, after tasting the sauce that had unlocked his childhood, Vincent quietly ordered a full review of his family's financial archives from the year Eunice Harris was dismissed. He hired a discreet team, legal experts, independent auditors, even private investigators. They began with one question: had the diamond watch truly been stolen or hidden away? The investigation stretched nearly 2 months. Dusty bank statements were combed through. Old property ledgers resurfaced. Auction house records, long filed away, were pulled into the light. Then the thread appeared. A rare diamond Rolex, once registered under his mother's name and reported stolen, had turned up at a closed-door auction in Asia. just 7 months after it had supposedly vanished. The serial number matched. What chilled Vincent wasn't just the timing. The seller had used a false identity linked to an anonymous Swiss account, opened mere weeks after Eunice's firing. The balance matched the Rolex's estimated value, thus a handful of smaller missing jewels. The account's true owner, Agatha Winslow, the white-head housekeeper from his childhood. It wasn't just a false accusation, Vincent muttered. She really was the thief. Clever, ruthless, and racist. After the accusation stuck, Agatha had left the household, only to reappear years later as the owner of a luxury desert resort in Arizona, parading her service to European high society as pedigree. Her empire was built on theft, prejudice, and a past buried deep. Vincent didn't hesitate. He handed every piece of evidence to the police and made it public. The indictment of Agatha Winslow, owner of the high-profile Rose and Sand resort chain, for theft and defamation rocked the luxury travel industry. A court ordered all assets tied to her crimes seized. And that's when Vincent did something that made the nation stand still. He transferred every recovered dollar to Eunice Harris, as restitution for the 30 years stolen from her. The day justice came, Eunice didn't cry. She simply took her daughter's hand. "I don't need anything," she said. "I just need you not to live the life I had to live." Lydia held her tighter, and together they decided they wouldn't keep the money. Part would seed the Eunice Harris Scholarship Fund, supporting young black students who dreamed of cooking but couldn't afford formal training. Another portion Lydia poured into a small restaurant in her neighborhood. Mother's Hands served traditional dishes, but once a week, anyone who couldn't pay ate for free. "Food shouldn't be a privilege," she said at the opening. "It's memory, it's connection, it's healing." But the most unexpected choice Lydia made, she didn't leave the Elsinore. Instead, Vincent Harrow himself named her creative head chef for his entire 5-star restaurant group. From a scorned apprentice pushed to take the fall, she became the one shaping menus and culinary philosophy for an empire. Every dish she designed carried a single message: respect the ingredient, respect the person. And in the boardroom, the once lonely boy who had waited for his nanny's stew rewrote his company's hiring code. No degree requirements, no pedigree, no skin color filters, only character. That plaque now hangs in every recruitment office across the Harrow Group. In the kitchen where it all began, its walls now repainted, Lydia still keeps the first apron her mother sewed, patched with a scrap of white cloth. The patch is her life, imperfect but steady, because it's been placed exactly where it belongs. Messaging. Not every wound screams. Some injustices run silent for decades, like a black woman cast out of a wealthy home with no chance to defend herself, living out her years in illness under the weight of a crime she never committed. But justice, late as it may come, is still justice when the truth is lit by resolve, dignity, and unconditional love. Lydia never cooked for fame. She cooked because she believed food could hold a memory, stir an old longing, and awaken a conscience. In the end, it wasn't money or titles that mended a family torn apart. It was a flavor, simple, honest, that brought 3 lives back to the same table, to forgive, to heal, and to begin again.